Yay!
Good evening. Good evening, YouTube. Welcome to the Majors and Quinn YouTube channel. My name is Annie, and I am the events coordinator at Majors and Quinn Booksellers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're not familiar with us, we are an independent bookstore, and if you are familiar with us, welcome back. Welcome back to our virtual event space. Thanks so much for the support you have given to our events program over the past year and a half, whether it's been virtual or in person if you happen to be here in the Twin Cities. This is our final event of 2021, and we could not have a better theme for this final event. There's a snowstorm headed this way, and we are so excited to be talking to Blair Braverman about her book, Dogs on the Trail. You may be familiar with Blair. She has done an event at Majors and Quinn a few years ago for her wonderful memoir, Welcome to the Goddamn Ice Cube. And we're just really happy to have her back, so to speak, for this really awesome, adorable gift book about a year in the life of a dog mushing team. So I'm going to introduce our speakers for the night. You're going to hear a little presentation from Blair, and then there will be plenty of time for your questions. So if you are watching on YouTube, you should use the chat function to ask your questions. I see some people already talking to one another in there. Also, let us know where you're watching from. Say hello. And I will also be putting a link to the book into that chat as well. So here we go. Let's talk about our guests tonight. Blair Braverman is a writer, dog sledder, and adventurer who uses innovative storytelling to make the outdoors accessible. She is the author of Welcome to the Goddamn Ice Cube, a contributing editor to Outside Magazine, and a contributor to New York Times, Vogue, This American Life, and elsewhere. She lives in the North Woods with her husband, Quince Mountain, and their team of sled dogs. And co-author of this book, Quince Mountain, has written for the New York Times and elsewhere about gender, religion, and the outdoors. He's been a survivalist on Discovery's Naked and Afraid and was the first openly transgender musher in the Iditarod. He lives with his wife and their sled dogs in Wisconsin and may or may not be a special guest later this evening. Blair, take it away. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back when you're ready to take some questions.
Thank you so much, Annie. And thank you, everyone. I can't comment with you. I don't have access right now, but I can see your comments going by, and it's so cool to see, if not your faces, then your little virtual waves. I do not have Flame with me today. I had promised at one point that our girl Flame, our sled dog Flame, would wear a different outfit for every reading. We are not at home, so I do not have her in an outfit tonight. We do have cool wallpaper, though. But I wanted to show you some photos, and thank you all for coming out on this winter evening and hanging out with us. Let's see. I know how to share my screen. Share. There we go. Wait, oh, Annie, help me. This changed.
Hello.
Hello. I'm clicking the share screen.
Okay. Do you want to just remove it and oh, there it is.
Oh, I was sharing the screen the whole time. That's why it.
There you go. Oh, that's cool. I can still be here. All right, we're on.
Okay. So I do want to say that Majors and Quinn, we actually lived near there for 1 or 2 summers. We were house sitting for a house about a couple blocks away from you guys. So we stopped by all the time. And when Ice Cube came out, I was just so exciting to get to do a reading at the bookstore where I wrote half the book across the street in a coffee shop that I thought was for hipsters, but was actually a Christian coffee shop. And I just thought all of the music was love letters to a certain man. It had a great vibe. Anyway, it was right across the street from you guys. And when I did the event, I brought my girl Queen, and she rode on my shoulders like this the whole night. So I pulled this from your Twitter, and I have such fond memories of that evening. This girl Queen looks maybe not that comfortable, but I promise you, all she wanted to do was be worn. She's since passed away, but she was just a canine scarf I once was in a dog sled race, and in these dog sled races, there's veterinarians at every checkpoint, and they give all the dogs a physical. Our dogs generally love veterinarians because they just associate veterinary checkups with running and being with friends. And they came up to me and they said, this one dog on your team, her heart rate's a little fast when we're checking her heart. And we think it might be because we're like a group of strangers in large coats and she's just a little nervous. So what they do in those instances is they have you come over as the musher and you pet the dog, and they see if the heart rate stays up or if the dog calms right down. And it was just a little bit of nerves. And so I went over to Queen and I picked her up and I put her over my head like this. And they had the stethoscope on her, and her heart rate dropped like 20 beats per minute within like 8 seconds in the amount of time that took her to put her over my shoulder. Like, she completely relaxed and I completely relaxed. And so she sat on my shoulders like this for an hour over at Majors and Quinn. And it was such a fun event. So we are here to talk about Dogs on the Trail, which is, it's nonfiction. It's a book full of photos and full of text. I've been a musher since I was 18 and a guide. I started to be a guide when I was 19. And my husband, Quince Mountain, has also been a guide. And, what's wonderful about being a dog sled guide is you get to share the thing you love with so many people, which is also something we started doing online because we sort of just wanted to talk about dogs all the time. And I felt like I really got a sense for the questions people had. And so when we were talking about doing this book, we wanted to do something that would be like a journey through a year in the life of sled dogs. And it will also answer all the questions that people have, like, what do they eat? How do they run? What do they do in the off season? All these different questions, and give you a real idea for what a year in the life and a day in the life is like. This photo is not in the book because it was taken 2 days ago. We had something of a blizzard, and this is Peppy and her son Clem. So after a blizzard, when we got like close to a foot of snow, you have to do something called breaking trail, which is you go out with the dogs and they are, they're like busting through the powder, and you watch them. They look like dolphins, like they're just going up and down, and they love it. And this was particularly exciting on this day because Q had just seen a wolf. There had been tracks around, and he literally just saw a wolf standing there watching him on that trail like a couple days before. So we knew there were going to be interesting smells. We knew there was a wolf hanging around, and we get out into this forest that's just like a sea of powder, and the dogs are, bounding through it, and nothing has been there. No sleds, no snowmobiles, no people, nothing. But there were just these like crisscross little animal trails every quarter mile. These footprints would cross, and the snow was so deep I couldn't tell what the footprints were. But I'll tell you, Peppy, the dog who's gray and white in this photo, or black and white, she did not care. She is my main leader. She did not look at the prints that may or may not have been wolf prints. But her son Clem, who's in the background here, tried to follow them every single time they crossed our path. So for like 2 hours, Peppy was just like focused as an arrow, and Clem was just like, wolf went that way, wolf went that way, wolf went that way. And it made for an adventure. And I took this photo when they had taken a break and were burying their faces in the snow. And this is actually Clem's nephew, Tenzing, a day later. He looks like I just think he's funny. So when most people think of mushing, they think of this sort of thing. This is our team. That's Peppy in lead. And actually Clem as well. It's the same 2 lead dogs in that photo, even though this was a couple years earlier. And this is in Alaska when we were training for some big races up there. And, of course, the life of a musher is like grand. There's these moments where you're like, you can't believe you're like on Earth having these adventures with these dogs. And there's also much smaller moments. And, this is some of our puppies this summer eating some grass. Here's here's another thing that happened this summer. This was after the book was finished, so it's not in the book, but this was our girl Flame, Queen's sister, who saw us going down to a pond to get into kayaks and got so excited that she ran down the hill, jumped into a kayak, and launched herself out into the lake by herself, and then just floated there until we arranged a rescue, and was not interested in being saved. This is fall, when in the summer we are out with the dogs, just having adventures in the woods. People always say, what's your favorite thing to do with them? And obviously our favorite thing to do is run. And it's their favorite thing too, but a very close second would be just tromping around the North Woods. We have the best playground in the world here for them. And they are not very good at walking on leashes. I will say that. They just want to pull, but they are quite good at walking off leash. They just keep an eye on us and come back. And, then once it gets below 50 degrees, we can start putting harnesses on them. And I am now realizing every single photo in this series has Peppy and Clem in lead, which is not, well, she's always our leader. He's not always. So he's really having a great showing tonight. In the winter, something else we wanted to do with this book is the thing about racing. And when I first got into mushing, when I first got into racing, I helped out other teams. And I talk in the book a little bit about how I used to sort of not be into the idea of racing dogs, because I thought what I love doing is going out with them and being in the woods. Why would I turn that into a competition? There's no such thing as losing. I don't care if my dogs are faster than someone else's. And I came to see that was sort of a naive way of thinking about it, because as soon as I went to my first dog sled race, I realized, this isn't about quantifying the dogs and deciding who's a winner or not. This is about being with the whole community and being on brand new trails. And the dogs are so excited to be with other dogs and being, and it's very safe. It's an incredibly safe way to travel 100 miles or 200 or 1,000 miles, because, someone's going to notice if you don't show up on the other end, among other things. But these are some pictures from checkpoints and races. This is something, if you're following along, and it's very fun to follow along from races, follow along races. It's a little tricky because you're just watching dots on a map, and the dots stop, and then they go backwards, and then they jump forward, and it's notoriously unreliable, the whole tracking system. And you sort of have to make up stories in your head about what might be happening out there. And then it's only when the musher gets out the other end that you get to find out if your guesses were true. But this is a checkpoint up here with the teams waiting. You can see the dogs sleep. They get their coats and, sleep in beds of straw. And as soon as they see straw, they know, okay, we're going to rest right here, and they curl up in their straw beds. And sometimes you can sleep inside and sometimes you can't. Race checkpoints can be at community centers or libraries, or they can just be a tent in the middle of the woods and it's 40 below and you're just going to lie down on the straw with your dogs. But up here in the top left, you can see this was in a library, and my friend had roused me from sleep, a whole 2 hours of sleep for that 3-day trip or something. And then down on the bottom right, I just wanted to give a glimpse of what it looks like to be charging all of your headlamps, because you need your battery pack, you have your vibrating alarm clock, you have your backup headlamp, your backup headlamp. And the headlamps that we use, you guys, are so strong that if you turn them on while you're not moving, you will light your parka on fire. It will catch on fire starting with your head. We know people who that has happened to. These are photos that aren't in the book because they weren't high enough quality, but I wanted to give you a little special glimpse and talk about a different lead dog other than Peppy. A lot of people, when they first hear about mushing, or they've heard about lead dogs, they've heard about Balto, they have the idea, the myth of the alpha dog. And the myth of the alpha dog is that dogs are just sort of climbing over each other to the top. And I just think that like the reason humans like this myth, it has actually been debunked in wolves. It was like a theory that's been debunked, but it has such like sticking power because we use it to justify our behavior to other people. This is my theory. But a lead dog is not actually like a bully or a dog who like forces other dogs to follow them or anything like that. It can actually be like a very shy dog, because the lead dog is the one who's listening to you and who is like seeing the open trail ahead of them and having the confidence to follow it. You know, it's a dog who is more independent than the other dogs because they don't need to be looking to the other team members to see where to go. They're making that decision for themselves. And this girl, this brown dog here, Jenga, was my first ever lead dog. She's now retired, but she came to us when she was a yearling, and she was shy. And she's had puppies with us, and they're grown up, and they are shy too. It is, you know, it is in their genetics. They have some anxiety. This whole line of dogs has some anxiety, but they are smart. They are brilliant, brilliant dogs. And so Jenga came to us, and she was jumpy, and she was paying attention to everything we did. And I started working with her. And the first thing, one day, you know, we only had 6 dogs at this time. And I put her in harness, and I brought her up to the front of the line. That's this photo on the left. And I told her to stay. I told her, you know, wait here. And that's something you sometimes do with lead dogs. You hook them up at the front of the line, and then you fill in the other dogs behind them as you're getting ready to go. And Jenga waited. She like put out her legs. She was not going to budge. And you can see I have this photo. That was the moment I was like, holy smokes, like this dog. I like looked at her and I said, like, don't budge. And like, you could tug of, like 5 large men could tug of war with that rope, and she would not move. And I think that was when I was like, wow, like you can see how she is putting her body into like paying attention and doing the thing that the team needs. And it was sort of an incredible moment. And then on the right, this is as she got older, and she really found her place as the leader of the team and got so much confidence over the years, and really became, we call her our boss bitch. And you know, led us through hundreds, thousands of miles of wilderness, making decisions all the way. And now she's retired, and her life looks like this. But she's very special. And what's so cool about having a team over time is you get to know every dog as an individual, of course, as a family member, as a friend. And then you see their relationships with each other, and you see the older dogs training the younger dogs. And then those younger dogs get older, and you see them training the younger dogs. And the retirees are laughing at the whole thing. And it's just incredible. I was mushing for a long time before I had my own dogs. And I thought I appreciated everything there was to appreciate, but somehow having that depth of connection, a team, it seems obvious, but it still blew me away. So hold on, how do I move down for a second here? I do have a special guest with me tonight. Perhaps, wait, how do I? Maybe I don't have a special guest with me tonight.
Just a second. The special guest is working on questions about the link to this for people.
Oh, the special guest is answering your questions online about how to get here right now. But
just give the special guest about 45 seconds.
All right. We have a special guest, but he's not that he's very special, but he's not a surprise. But anyway, that we are just now in the point of the year where like the dog, we've gotten so much snow. We're back on the sled. We are carrying holiday cards for people with a team. And it's funny, last year we didn't get to do a ton of adventures with the dogs because it was a pandemic. So we got to do, you know, adventures ourselves in the woods, but we couldn't go to races or events or things like that. But already this year we can tell like the dogs are ready to go places. We passed another dog team on the trail recently, and they were like, the dogs were like, there's other dog teams in the world. Like all of their tails went up, all of their heads went up. We have, I don't know. It's fun to see them. Especially, we have a couple of young dogs who are pandemic babies. Like they have not been out in the world quite as much. Hello.
Hello, I'm the special guest, Quince.
This is Quince, the co-author of the book.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's all right. It's all right. Some people really helped find a link so other people could join this, which is great because you're supposed to have to register. But
Oh, good.
ugly dogs, man, we should do an escape room together with all the ugly dogs.
Yeah.
Fantasies we have about hanging out with you guys is an escape room, but also there's a place where you paint ceramics, and
Not everyone here is an ugly dog. We should
Oh,
explain. Some fans of the
ugly
team.
dogs.
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're ugly or dogs.
No. So what we started doing, the way the book came to be, is we had these dogs and started telling stories about them on Twitter and posting pictures, and it felt very self-indulgent, and sort of were amazed to see that a community formed around them, and the community calls itself the Ugly Dogs. So if you see that, that's actually who the book is dedicated to, is to all of you guys, and it feels very much like your book. And but it is not an insult. If you're new, welcome. You are not ugly, and you may not be a dog, but we're so happy to have you here.
And yes, we're going to go to medieval times one of these days together. But first of all, this has nothing to do with dogs, but I promise it might be of interest. I see people saying haircut, like I got a haircut, and someone said Q got a haircut. Blair cut my hair actually recently because it was just turning into
just cut off the knots.
one giant dreadlock, and she cut it, but now it's too short to put in a ponytail, so I'm learning about pigtails. But I haven't done them yet, but because I only have one hair tie. It's lucky. Blair, but in Arabic, there's a word, apparently.
Oh, I don't know where this is going.
And the word, because when someone gets a haircut, it's like not necessarily great. No offense to this haircutter, Blair, but a lot of times we say like nice haircut, and we may or may not mean it. But in Arabic, there's just a word. Apparently, my friend told me that's haircut. And it just means you got a haircut, and it doesn't mean whether it's nice or not. And I feel like Heather, warm Heatherette over here, just did that. She just wrote haircut with many exclamation points, which is like very great. I'm glad you all love my haircut.
It's such a good haircut. And you're going to wear a ponytail so fast.
Yeah. So what's been a lot of fun lately is watching our helper Sarah Marshall / podcaster. She does many things, and she went out, she's been helping stamp all the trail mail. People
don't know what trail mail is. Yeah, you're jumping in halfway through.
This is how I write too. I go backwards and have to explain things, and people are like, it doesn't work that way, you should foreshadow things, but I'm not that artful in that regard. Trail mail means that people bundle up a bunch of their holiday cards, and they stamp them just like they're going out to their friends and family. They send the whole bundle to us, and we sort of unbox them and send them out on the trail with our sled dog team for a ride.
We take the mail for a ride.
And sometimes to the post office, sometimes just for a ride. And it gets stamped, we stamp it, that it was carried by sled dog, because I believe it infuses the mail with the energy of these dogs, and they have a lot of joy to share. And then it gets a commemorative sticker for each year, and then we put it out in the mail, and people who have no idea, friends and family of people who are fans of our sled dogs will be like, why does this say it was carried on a dog sled?
This is free to anyone from anywhere around the world. We do it every year. So we are pretty much done for this year, but you can send us your mail next year, and
mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars. Look up Braverman and Mushing. We'll carry your mail by dog sled.
And those of you who are here and missed out, if you totally missed out and you send 1 to 2 letters, I think it's a little secret, but we'll get them through eventually. I mean, they might come for New Year's or whatever, but you know.
Oh, after that.
Well, because 2 people said,
it'll get
one day
through.
I missed out. I mean, you know, don't send us like 50 letters in 2 weeks, but if you have 1 or 2, we'll give them their little stamp. We might be out of stickers by then, but this is all to say that
Sarah, this is Sarah right here.
This person.
She's absolutely wonderful, and she's a handler, which means she
has Stockholm syndrome. She
stays with us and helps out with the dogs. It's a kind of apprenticeship. I started as a handler too.
Speaking of calendars, we're going to have a calendar. Yes, we will. And it varies. Calendar dropping very, very imminently within the next.
What were you saying about Sarah?
Somebody asked. Okay, so because you can mark the calendars to get your thing.
Yeah.
And I represent the person on the team who has ADHD.
This is going to be surprising to anyone watching right now.
Is a lot of things. I'm a lot. But Blair married me and is stuck, much like Sarah's stuck being our handler, and she helps stamp all the trail mail. So, and this is the first year she's been sort of out mushing the dogs on the runners.
She drove her first 4-dog team today.
Yeah.
Was that what you were going to say?
Well, I was going to talk about bike joring and
other things. Yeah.
She's done a lot of things with the team, gradually working up. You know, first it was like 1 dog on a bike, and then it was 1 dog on a scooter, and then it was 2 dogs on a bike. And she trusts Blizzard. She says that Blizzard is like her real dad, like the dad she wishes who would have taught her driving when she was 16, so she didn't have to wait till she was 23 and have some guy from South Dakota help her get her driver's license. But anyhow, who did she have? They're asking
Sarah.
For Blizzard, Peppy, Jelly,
Flame, and Jelly,
and Flame, and because she had a lot of mail. We started with 3, but she had like a metric hecton of dog mail.
Flame.
And so so we loaded Sarah up with the mail, and she went out and like couldn't have done a better job.
She did amazing, and she also broke the sled, but it wasn't her fault. She just literally broke parts of the sled in half, and she just kept mushing. And we were like, "This is it. You're ready. You're ready to go cross Alaska."
Well, that was the end of the story.
We didn't plan this because it just happened.
Be a reveal to people after a lengthy rising action and denouement and another rising action and then a climax, which was that kind of. But we overcame and wrapped it with
so much tape. So much tape.
And Blair was pulling out carbon fiber slivers.
I learned about carbon fiber slivers, which people have always warned me about, because we have a carbon fiber meat ladle, which is what you give to the musher who has everything, because we make this mixture called Meaterade, which is a bucket of meat and water all mixed together, sort of soupy Gatorade rehydration, and it always sticks to the ladle. So this man named Lev Schwartz makes carbon fiber Meaterade labels.
Yeah, because you could bang it and knock the ice off. That when
it makes a big difference.
Frozen meat Gatorade. But anyhow, so Sarah, but the sled is this very good, beautiful race sled that, never mind about working. RIP sled.
It was like our ultralight one.
Yeah, it's been used about 4 times. And Sarah ran it into an ice shanty. But weirdly, it was not her fault.
It was not her fault.
It's like hard to explain, but it was really, really my fault. And Sarah was a champ and kept going. And even when she fell after that, she was like, are you okay? And she said, it is like falling on a giant pillow made of marshmallows, because we had some new snow. But I've been watching her learn, and it reminds me of myself. And I realize how much has gone into me learning mushing over the past few years, because I didn't know anything. I would have never pictured myself on a dog sled or having anything to do. I mean, dogs tied to a thing, pulling you through the forest, all sounds very strange and magical and Disney. And I would have never thought I would be a part of it. I always had horses, always loved animals.
He was a horse guy for sure when we met.
Yeah, but then I fell in love with Blair, and and she came with me horseback riding about 8 million times and learned that, and and then eventually it was like, well, it's winter, and I know this person really likes mushing, and I have a neighbor I heard had some dogs, so we then we found that person and went from there. And once you step on those runners, I mean, you're gone. It's like sailing in that you're just sort of skipping across the snow, and it's so quiet, and you have this headlamp, and you're going in through the tunnel of snowy evergreen trees, and it's you just hear the dogs breathing.
Yeah, like their footprints and their breath. And I wish we were in person right now, because there is a super fun event in Minneapolis, or right near Minneapolis, called the Klondike Dog Days, Klondike Dog Derby. And it's a brand new event. And part of its mission, I believe, is to like help people learn about mushing who have never learned about it before. It's like completely urban. And so you can come to Minneapolis, you can go to Majors and Quinn and like stock up on your books for the new year.
Really, I think Majors and Quinn should have a table on the ice. How cool is that? I know you said this is the last event, Annie.
Well, this is next year.
But the first event of 2022 could also be. You could be out on the ice in a little ice shanty. Maybe handler Sarah could help you find one, and Peppy. And you could sell some books, and probably some people would buy them. And a great time will be had by all there. It's a big purse, gets a lot of mushers, a lot of fast mushers from teams from all over the country.
I think just a dream event would be to come to, if you're not in town, or if you are, to spend a weekend at the Klondike Dog Days, Dog Derby, and Majors and Quinn.
People are saying what an amazing, wonderful person Lev was. I didn't know he was there last year. If he was, I don't know for sure that's right.
I don't know.
But maybe he was. I mean, weirder things have happened, but he is a cool guy, as Daniel says, but he's also a big weirdo and has this bag of ferrets. And at first I was like, is this ferret abuse? But the ferrets run into the big grain bag, and then he picks up the bag and sort of walks around the house, and then he lets the ferrets out, and then they're all excited, and then he puts the bag somewhere else, and they run back in the bag. And
we were like, why is he putting them in the bag? And he was like, no, just wait. Like, all they want to do is be in the bag.
Yeah, it's super weird. Lev and his ferrets. If you ever meet him, ask him about his ferrets, and he will be like, I hurt my ferrets. Do not say a bad word about ferrets around that man. Seriously.
No, mushers are characters. I saw a question I want to answer from Isabel, who's 8 years old, who asked who our oldest dogs are. And I wanted to show them to you, Isabel. And they are these two right here. And they are older than you. They are around 11, and they still run frequently. And this boy is named Harry, and this girl is named Refried, as in refried beans. They're both named after beans. So
why are they both named after beans?
They're both, good question. They're both named after beans because when sled dogs are born in a litter of puppies, and you might have 2 puppies or you might have 10 puppies, they're named by themes. You can always tell, if they go to different teams, they can reunite 5 years later, 100 miles away, and you'll be like, oh, look, it's Fava and Garbanzo, and they'll say hi to each other, and they're always connected by their names, by the litter theme. So you can think about what you would name, the theme you would come up with. It could be characters in a movie. It could be types of food. We actually, we had a dog named Donut, who's now retired and lives with a friend of ours. And she was such a weirdo. She was just a very short, strange dog. And Donut, and then one day, and we'd never seen a dog like her. She had like a pig nose, and she was short and had a barrel chest, and just like a ferocious, tiny, like just bulldog of a sled dog, super smart. And she had like this pig nose, absolutely a pig nose. And then one exactly like this, just this, but a small yellow dog. And then I was mushing in Saskatchewan, and I saw a dog, and I was like, that's Donut, that dog, that completely different dog. And I went up, and I was like, I need to know what that weird dog is, because I too know a weird dog who's weird in exactly the same way. And the dog's name was Dime. And sure enough, it was Dime, Donut's sister. They were from a D litter.
And demons.
No, they were great.
What are you saying? Demons are bad?
And traditionally.
Okay, yeah.
Traditionally, but they were. But we knew from the D name. I mean, although we also knew just from their pig faces. So anyway, Isabel, Harry, and Reef Ride.
Somebody asked who the oldest. Heather, Donut did get an exorcism.
She did. Donut did. We did get her an exorcism at one point because she was. And Sloan, I see your question. I'll do that next.
And it was by phone, I think.
No, it was in person.
Oh, was it?
Donut, she was such a strange dog. She started doing this thing. She got along with other dogs, but she would snarl at the air. She would just.
It was so scary.
At nothing.
It was like, and then she would just bark and bark, like, but facing a specific thing in the dark woods that you couldn't see anything there. And none of the other dogs would.
Nothing. There'd be nothing.
It was just weird.
And she'd make strange sounds, and then she'd snap out of it and be fine. So then one day, we didn't seek out an exorcism, but one day Q's aunt was over, and she's psychic, and she had a pendulum, and so she sat down. Our friend Chrissy, our handler Chrissy, sat with Donut and held her, and Aunt Leslie, psychic aunt, had a pendulum, and Donut never did growl at the air after that.
Yeah, it's true.
It really did never happen again.
It's true.
So Sloan wanted to know who our youngest dogs are.
Right. And
our youngest dog, Sloan, that's a great question. They are named Mazzy and Yotam, and they're named after composers. And this is Mazzy right here.
Ew.
That's her little face. She's a little bigger than this now. This was in the summer, and she's not quite full grown, but she's a puppy. She's 10 months old or something. So she's our baby at the moment, and you are older than her.
In a couple months, she'll be doing her first runs with a team, and
she will.
We will let you know how it goes. It'll be very exciting. Probably after the traveling racing dog show season, sort of.
Dog show?
Well, I don't know.
Metaphorically,
it's the dog show. I always like the parades they have before the race.
They like that
the
too.
Dogs. I don't know. We're just the dogs. It's a dog show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a dog show like.
It's not.
It's just the dog show.
Yeah, it's not a dog show.
Anyhow, after that's all over, we'll come back, and then we get to work with these puppies,
and
which is always fun because they don't know anything.
They have not yet run, and it is.
They free run a lot.
They free run, right? So they run next to an ATV, or they run around the woods.
In front of it, ideally.
Yeah, but they have not worn a harness. And I'll tell you, when you put a harness on a young dog,
it's that part's
they do
not
understand it. They do not. They are like, why am I wearing clothes? I have never worn clothes. I'm going to get my legs through the wrong holes in the clothes.
It's like putting.
I'm going to demand a belly rub.
Shoes on a toddler,
right?
But not Velcro shoes, and
just they're not having it. And then, but their whole life they've been watching the big dogs run and come back, and so they're like not having it with the harness. They're like, this is stupid.
It is food.
It is food. I'm gonna eat it. And then you bring them over to the other dogs.
Like if you didn't want a shirt on and you
just like I can eat it off. They don't have hands.
You just ate your own clothes. It's like
that's
hard
what they
to
do.
Yeah, it's true. They don't have hands.
You don't have many teeth compared to them.
No.
But the point is, they're wearing the harness, they hate it, or they don't hate it, but they're very confused. And then once you clip the harness to to the tow line, which is in front of the sled, and the dogs start running, TOW, something clicks and the puppies just start running themselves. And like, you can see the amazement on their face. It's like if you ever see photos of like a baby eating ice cream for the first time. When
is that a
like,
thing? Wow.
yeah, sometimes like videos go around of like a baby eating something really delicious for the first time. And like, they're so pure in their expression and their excitement. Like that is what happens to the sled dogs. They're like, oh, this is what my energy was always for. I was always meant to pull. And they just go. And they don't need to be taught. They don't need to learn how to run. They do need to learn how to not eat their harness.
And how to stop.
And how to stop. They don't want to stop.
They don't love to stop. So how we exercise them somebody asked, is like in summer, it's definitely a lot chiller of a time. I mean, because it's hot for them and they hang out and we have little play yards and they run around in those, or sometimes just run around or go jogging with us or go swimming, or we try and do all kinds of things and we sort of alternate them. You know, we spent a lot of this year sort of building these run pens, play yard areas where they get to, and there's 4 different ones with 4 different sort of play structures in them. So and then next year those will really we just sort of put the finishing touches on them very recently. So next year those will be sort of in full swing and we can rotate the groups of dogs. You know, they could play in one day. They could be at a
playground or at a pool or
at a big pile of rocks or a tunnel and all kinds of different enrichment stuff. And that'll be an ongoing, we'll just be doing more and more different. But and then sometimes we've taken them, well, before the pandemic, we took all the dogs to like they would trade off and go to this, like, what do you call it? I don't know, boot camp kind of thing where they learn regular obedience stuff, like sit and heel and walk. You know, because a lot of them are gonna, I mean, sometimes dogs eventually end up living indoors in a home, and so it's nice if they know,
in an indoor home.
How to
They're
sit
in a home here, but
in a home like
as
humans would live in. Who aren't mushers, but good point.
They live outdoors here to keep their coats really fluffy and thick through the winter. But when they retire, if they retire to a pet home, which not all of them do, some of them stay with us or are, you know, sled dogs their whole lives. If they choose to retire, then they don't need their thick coat anymore, and then they can sit by the fire and
and they
relax.
Adjust to that. Usually, there's some who absolutely would not deign to go indoors very much, but you know, we try and sort of prepare them for all kinds of new life experiences, even if they never need to learn to sit. The idea of paying attention to a human and sort of learning a verbal request is a whole thing, you know,
as an individual, as opposed to, you know, when they're a whole team, then they know our requests as a team. Like they know, like, turn left at the intersection or go through the river or don't eat that moose. But that's different from like being one-on-one.
I had a friend who was from a family of 8, and for each of the kids' birthdays, the kid would go alone with their parents out to eat somewhere. And that was the only time they were alone with their parents, you know? So we do try to sort of like even in fall, you know, when we're only running a couple miles or when Sarah's doing the trail mill, to be able to run with these smaller teams of 3 and 4 dogs or take 2 dogs somewhere, almost any time we're going on a trip. I mean, we bring a few dogs and it changes what dogs, but they that one-on-one time or 1-on-2 or 1-on-3, just more individual attention is a big deal. But they're into their team, and ultimately they want to go back. And as soon as they get back, there's this big group howl, like, welcome
they do.
back.
They're like, what did you do? What did you do? And then they tell their friends and sniff each other.
They totally have FOMO.
I'm aware. I don't know if we've sort of been answering questions as they come. But if there were more specific questions for us, or if we should just sort of keep answering, we can see your questions as they come.
How do you exercise a dog? Oh, so the nice thing is, once it's like when we get them all in harness, sort of running often with an ATV or a snowmobile, snow
Mhm.
machine, or pulling a sled. Although when we have bigger numbers, it's safer to have, depending. I mean, if we're running 20 dogs at once or something, it's nice to have a big machine and be able to use the brakes, because we're not on like a groomed race trail where there's going to be people every once in a while to help. So it's just nice. And that's like a great way to run them, because they're all in one group the way you want them in a harness. They're not just loose running off, peeing on things and running into the neighbor's house or whatever dogs would do, and do sometimes while they're free running. Not naming names at all, Forrest. But what's my point? Then you think a lot of people feel bad, like I don't exercise my dog enough, and maybe some of you don't, but the thing is, once you meet a sort of minimum amount, like 5 miles or something, like we'll start running the dogs in fall in harness where they're pulling, and they're only running 2 or 3 miles. But then we work up and get to where they can run 100 miles in one stretch. Like, I'm not exaggerating.
But we work up to it super gradually. They can't jump in and do that.
Right. But it's over the course of 6-7 months. So a lot of dog breeds and bloodlines, they'll sort of always want more, and they'll always enthusiastically go out and go to the park and go play ball with you forever and ever and bring back that ball. And that doesn't mean you're not giving them enough. They sort of need at least a basic amount. And then, but you could think, oh, I'll give them enough. 5 miles will be enough. 10 miles will be enough. 20 miles. No, I mean, we do this full time, both of us. And
we have never hit a limit where the dogs are like, until we literally run out of hours in the day, where all of their hours are running, sleeping, or eating. Like, even then, if there were more hours in the day, they would run more.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sloan asked about what happens when the dogs retire.
Oh.
And that is a great question.
Well, can we differentiate between retire from racing?
Yeah.
Because I think they have a job still.
Right. So retiring, they might not be racing with the fastest dogs on the team, but they
like Flame doesn't really race so much.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not still sled dogs who want to run. But
she carried 80 pounds of mail today. She would have up a hill.
She did. She absolutely did.
That's a job.
It depends. So as a dog gets older, they really let us know, and they make things very clear. People are like, well, dogs can't talk. They can talk. It's just not English. And so it's up to us to understand their language. And they're very clear about what they want to do. So if a dog, is slowing down, they're getting older, their joints are stiff, but they still want to run, then that's a dog who's going to, still be running and still be a sled dog, every day of their life. And sometimes there's a dog who's like, I want a couch. And then they go have a couch. We have dogs who have become pets with friends of ours as they got older. And then this dog here actually is a bookstore dog. Matt Power, named for the journalist Matt Power. So Majors and Quinn, you're up next. We're sending you several dogs, and we expect them to be your mascots.
I don't even know who would retire next.
No, we don't have any. We don't have.
It's a special dog to be a bookstore.
We don't have any bookstore dogs right now, but
oh no, they're
I
very
feel
excited.
like Majors and Quinn would be
they're very
it would be an honor for a dog to be there. Someone said, does that mean Flame won't be running races with you all anymore? No, Flame is not. Flame isn't middling retired. She might run.
I'd be surprised if she made a distance race team, but she's never fallen out of a race. It's not her age. But she'll go wherever Blair goes. Like, she'll just go where Blair goes. I can't imagine her not.
Yeah. She sort of has other interests. So if we're taking out a team of 10, we might not bring her because she has her own stuff going on and doesn't need the exercise in the same way.
She's sort of not like this burly, solid, like
She could take it or leave it.
I'm gonna pull you up a hill. No, I mean she'll pull, but
Yeah.
but like, so sometimes if we're taking a smaller team or something, we'll take the bigger dogs. But today she made a very strong, because she's also not. So sometimes some of the smaller ones, like maybe they're not like the heavy weight pulling, but they set a fast pace or they're really good leaders. Flame's not much into leading. I mean, she'll run in front of the team if she needs to, but she's not like single-minded, motivated, moving forward, gonna rev up the whole team. She's less interested in the other dogs than she is in Blair. Or
right. Some of the dogs are dogs, and their main social circle is with each other, and they think we're nice. And then every now and then you have a dog who's like, I don't care about other dogs. I only want to be a person.
Yeah, they'll just jump in the car. Although Wixon, who is a sled dog to the core, has started now just jumping in the ATV side by side while you're running. So I don't know.
That's
it's
true.
Weird. But Flame made a very strong case today. I mean, pulling Sarah up these hills. Flame, Jelly, Peppy, those aren't huge dogs. Blizzard's a little bigger. But they
threw powder.
They got the job done.
Threw powder.
We did a whole bunch of mail with them, and Sarah learned a lot, and I remembered learning. It was so fun to see it like click for her to really just. It's like remembering, because none of this is intuitive. It's all weird. It's all weird.
It becomes intuitive.
Then you forget.
See, Christina said, due to envision running the Iditarod or Yukon Quest in the next year or so. I would say not in the next year or so, because we would have.
I would love to do the quest.
I would love to do the quest.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be this year. It would depend on how this year goes, but the quest is super cool, and neither of us have done it. And we haven't even done, they have like a shorter version that's 300 miles, but it is.
But I think this year is still 2 quests. Like they
might not be doing it.
I will consider it more strongly when they're back to crossing the border.
Right. The quest is a 1,000-mile race that goes from
Whitehorse, Yukon Territory to Fairbanks, Alaska, and then in alternate years it goes from Fairbanks, Alaska to Whitehorse,
and
Yukon.
It has very few checkpoints. So it has a reputation as like a very wilderness race where people are really on their own, and they're not like,
it's like a 200 miles.
Like you just go days without seeing anyone. Whereas in the Iditarod and in other races, you might like once a day intersect with other people. The quest, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So
I would like that.
Q would like that.
And Blair
I would like
thrives
it.
in the deep cold too, which Quest is known for deep cold.
I would like it, but I do like sleeping on a floor. I've decided I'm too old. I like sleeping on a floor at checkpoints. I like it more than having a wet sleeping bag.
Boy, I read someone's book, and that scary mountain, going down the scary mountain sounds scary.
Someone said Quest is tougher than Iditarod.
Yeah, all the races are tough.
People say they're hard in different ways.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because sometimes a race won't be as sort of physically demanding in terms of terrain, but then remember your competition, the other dog teams are also experiencing it not being as physically demanding terrain. So they're going faster, which means that you don't have as much leeway to see with my ADD.
But that's if you're thinking of trying to win the race.
Well,
but trying to finish.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. You also can't fall too far behind the race field.
Yeah.
Or you can't even finish the race. So
yeah,
you have to sort of stay with the pack at least, and the front of the pack goes faster. Sometimes the whole pack ends up going fast. And so you can't. With my sort of ADHD, it helps to just be out in the wilderness and stay focused on the dogs, I think.
Yeah, he will end up making friends at checkpoints and talking to them for hearing their life story and forgetting he's in a race.
Well, it's like the other mushers, because you never see these people, and then you see them. And but I'm pretty good. I've learned a lot from Blair that way, because Blair can leave a checkpoint faster than any musher.
I am good at that. I can do like 20 minutes.
It might look like, I'm not going to say shit show, but you won't have like if a line broke, let's say,
Mhm.
Blair will just quick tie it together, and it's field expedient, but there's like weird. It's not
It's
perfect, but she doesn't care. She'll get out on the trail and she'll fix it later
Yeah.
once she's out.
Or while we're moving.
Truly, she's done.
I don't care how it looks.
We're-
Just if the things are functional, the dogs are happy.
I'll be like, is everything perfect?
She'll be
Are
like,
you
"The
guys sure
line
you want to wear
twisted."
jackets? Let me go around. I'm going to do a circle. Should we
But they
do
like
it
it too.
again? Yeah. So, but I was always a slower person. Like it took me a long time to learn to tie my shoe, or it took me a long time to learn to ride a bicycle. I still can't really swim. So, but once I learned to ride a bicycle and tie my shoe, I got pretty good at it.
Someone was asking about the tougher races. I have heard, we were talking about races being hard in different ways. I have actually heard the Bear Grease, which is in Minnesota, and the Kobuk 440 also ranked among the toughest races in the world.
Daniel says the Quest Guest rider sled setup is my favorite.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know if that's like the I did a rider, the sort of person who rides the first day. I'm not sure. Daniel can tell us more about that. I want to make a race. My dream race that I want to create has 2 people, 2 mushers, because then if you get to any kind of road crossing or obstacle, there's a second person there on the same sled, and they can make sure the team navigates safely. Like if there's cars that need to be stopped or anything like that. And then there's also but in the race, there's also these sort of wilderness skills that people need to overcome. And another musher the other day, or I was telling Ryan Bieber and Lloyd Gilbertson, who we get from our dog food from, Ryan was super excited for this kind of race. So now I think someday it'd be cool. There's all these races we know about, but then there's these weird ones. And that's one thing I love about Alaska mushing culture, where it's a state sport. Like some things about Alaska are really hard. Like you drive far to get places. There aren't many roads. Dog food costs $80
a bag.
20 a pound for any kind of meat. Probably since the pandemic, it's even more.
Yeah.
But they have these races that'll just be like, you don't sign up till the morning of. It's like a guy at a bar has a cash box, and they're taking like 50s for your sign up. And then, whoever shows up, you don't even know who's going to be there in an hour. And then you all go out and you all come back, and it's a 40-mile race or something. And then you have lunch together, and that's it. And it's just super fun. And that's the kind of race I would throw. I wouldn't bother to know. Like it would depend on the weather and how people are feeling and whatever. But I like that. And I did a race once called the Gnome Sign 40 from Knick Bar out to this gnome sign about 20 miles away. There's a sign that says gnome that way. And we turn around at that sign and come back to the bar, and I paid $50 to be in the race, but I wrote a check, and then I won $50 because I got like third or whatever. I don't know. There weren't that many of us. And then they gave me, I gave them $50 cash. And then I won third place, and they gave me a $50 check, but they told me not to cash it for 2 weeks. And then I was like, huh? And can I just have back the $50? But they were like, no, we have to put that in the bank. I don't know. It's just all very funny. And I have heard a lot of old school stories about people who will win a race check and go cash it, during the bankway, because they worry that's
might not be there.
The races
are not always the most official.
They're all different levels, and sort of those goofy ones can be really fun. I'd really love to do the Kuskokwim 300 one day. That's out in Bethel. These races where you fly out to a village. It's off the road system in Alaska, and the whole team all the dogs get on an airplane with you. It's pretty great, and you land there, and you're just in a place where dog sledding has been part of the history for time immemorial, and just to get to go out there. Except it's really dark, the Cusco 300, because this is in Bethel. It's pretty far north. If you go to the Kobuk 440, because Cusco's I think February, Kobuk is early April in above the Arctic Circle. So there's only like 4 hours that you even need your headlamp.
You don't even need your headlamp. You can go by moonlight. The dogs wear mascara around their eyes.
Yeah, they look like baseball players.
Yeah, because it's so bright up there.
The reflection of the sun. And then when it is dark, you see like the northern light, the aurora, and being out under the aurora, the dogs really pick up energy at night. They're predators. They love to hunt at night. So that's when they really come awake. And during the afternoon, they'll run with you, but they're like, what are we doing? It's bedtime. It's like if somebody woke you up
they want to sleep
4 a.m. to go run, you'd be like, oh.
Like 1 to 4 p.m. You'll see a lot of mushers just napping from 1 to 4 p.m. because that's when their dogs naturally want to sleep, just waiting for the cool air to come back and
the heat of the day. That's who does well in Kobuk. If you guys are watching the look who gets to Ambler without running during the heat of the day, and that's a weird thing, or you can write it down, but. Ambler is his first sort of main big resting point, and if you can get there without running in the afternoon, that team's going to have a lot more energy than the others, and it's hard to do. Blair managed to do it and got 5th in a very competitive race, and that was really neat. That was when you were just qualifying to run the Iditarod race, because you have to Iditarod Quest, these 1,000-mile races. You don't just go sign up. They want to see you do
months of years,
300-mile races, and you don't just go sign up for the 300-mile races. They want to see you do an 80-mile race, and in some cases, the 80-mile races want to see you do a 40-mile race. So it's a whole thing. It's not like you just one day you're a long distance musher. It's a whole education.
It takes time, and you need to know. I mean, they need to know that you need to know how to take care of your dogs and over that kind of distance, because the dogs' needs are different. They need so much more food when they're running, that distance day after day. Like you're evaluated on, dog food like melting snow, dog foot care, things like that a lot of people would never even think of. But that's what. If you want to qualify for longer races, there's a team of vets and people who are making sure that you know how to, provide the care and have the knowledge that someone needs to do that sort of thing. And it's a learning curve. You definitely. I learned so much starting with shorter races and mid-distance races, and there's other mushers there, and they're saying, hey, like, here, try this. I noticed this dog wasn't that hungry. Try mixing the food like this. And you see, then the dog wants to eat. And you're just, learning so much from your mentors every step of the way. And the dogs are learning, and then they're, then you have the dogs sort of showing the younger dogs. It's very cool.
There's a race where people walk and run and bike on the Iditarod Trail. Is known as the human-powered Iditarod, and it starts about a week before the sled dog Iditarod. It's the same trail. And somebody tried to say to me, like, could mushers do that? They're not really, these are some racy athletic people, very slender and all that. But I was like, well, I don't know if a musher's going to win the race or not, or any of that, but they're not going to die out there. I'm pretty sure I can tell you that they'll be safe out on the trail. And they were saying, well, you don't know the mental toughness. But if you can be out there taking care of 14 dogs, and then suddenly you didn't have 14 dogs and you just had to think, am I hungry? Do I need to sleep? Like, that is so much easier compared. So there's a musher named Becca Smith. Or is her last name Smith? I don't know. Ramey Smith's wife. I'm not sure her last name, but if she was sort of qualifying last year to do that Iditarod, and I think I'm going to be proven right. The ITI, it's called Iditarod Trail Invitational. If she does that one, I predict she will at least finish. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to win your first year at all, but I have my money on her being pretty tough. She gets out there.
Someone said, have you ever had a dog team quit on you while in a race where they just lay down and refuse to run? That is called parking. It actually, people say, like, it's not super common, but like if someone's dog team parks, it means the dog team has decided,
nope.
They'll
let you know.
We're taking our nap right now.
They don't want to go. They're not going to go.
That you can't make them go. If they're like, we want to take a nap, then they're gonna park and you're gonna stop there and make beds and feed them, and they will get up when they feel like it again.
Yeah, they usually just need a lot of rest and food.
I have never had that happen.
No.
I've never had that happen. But I can imagine, like especially if there's a storm or something and you're really trying to get out of it. Like,
Oh,
I don't know. I don't think I've been close to that though.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it.
But
I
rest a lot with the dogs.
Yeah, I haven't seen it personally in a race where I've gone past it, but I've heard about it happen. It's happened in Nick, it's Petit, it's happened to Brent, it's asked different people, and they just say, well, I guess we're not going to go as fast as we thought, and they wait and they rest, and they either decide to keep racing and be a lot slower and not, be in the top 10, or they just kind of call it a day and they're done. So
that can also have to do with trust in a musher.
Well, and they have to have enough food with them. So sometimes they'll go back because they don't have enough. Like they'll have enough food to be there and give the dogs a meal, because you always have to have.
You have to carry so much extra food. Like
it's
to be stuck out there for days.
They won't let you leave a checkpoint, and you don't have extra. You have to have 100 pounds of food on. Dogs don't want to go. Then you guys rest and you feed the dogs. But that doesn't mean that then you have enough. You still have to have that extra food leaving like the next checkpoint. So, you might make a calculation. I've used my sort of safety rations. Unless I have a friend with me who can help or something, because the mushers can help each other, but they can't have outside help from outside the race. That's a lot of explanation. Somebody asked about
this is like really inside baseball at this point, you guys. You came for a
I feel like some of these people have been to like 5 events, and then I want to give them.
I know, but what about people who are just dropped in
deer
for the
hunting?
night?
Somebody asked me about hunting.
What about
worry about hunting? No, I think hunters usually can tell the difference between a dog and a deer or a moose or whatever. But there is one lady who shot a moose thinking it was a deer recently, but then she got her license revoked for 5 years. However, our neighbors, we live in an area where a lot of people hunt. It's part of our culture, and they hunt and they eat the deer.
And our dogs eat the venison that people, the parts of the venison that people don't eat. And
so it's more like, people who don't hunt think of hunting as shooting, but they don't call it shooting. They call it hunting. Like you guys, some people who don't hunt think about the shot and the kill, but that's only like a few seconds of hunting. Most of hunting is days spent out there in the wilderness, just watching wildlife, trying to be quiet, trying to be still. And that's a lot of time. A lot of people sort of get away and they find it meditative and peaceful. And so we try not to
connected to their food.
Try not to have, because when we go hook up the dogs with the harnesses and they're all barking, and I mean, that sound can carry a half mile or more. So we do try and respect during the hunting hours, but it's not because we're worried like some stray bullets are just going to fly by and hit the dog team. I mean, it's that way.
We just want to, people are making space for us to do what we do in the woods, and we want to make sure we're not disturbing them. And
it was something,
everyone's being respectful of each other, and we've never had a problem. We trust our neighbors a lot. So we're lucky. I've heard there's places that aren't like that, but we don't have that problem.
Yep. But we do a lot of work. We go to a lot of meetings. We ask all our neighbors. We invited everybody for a tour when we were first starting.
Yeah, we want our neighbors to know what mushing is, because otherwise we're just the weirdos with a lot of dogs who howl every night at 9:45.
We did a lot of grandkids' birthday parties and a lot of different things. And so, in fact,
2 days we're going to do a Santa Claus party for the kids in our town.
Yeah, so this Sunday we'll probably take 140 kids mushing just for free. Anybody in the town, little kids. I mean, they have to have signed up long ago. But every kid in our town, if they want to try mushing, they're going to get to go. They're going to at least grow up having met a sled dog. And, so it's important to us, that give and take. You can't just, it's just a small community and you're using these trails. You have to also put in work. We usually join the snowmobile club, join the ATV club. All these people maintain the trails. We'll go out, try to volunteer one day a year, things like that. So, sometimes when people move to a new area and they're like, well, it's so aggressive, they don't understand me on the trail. It's like, Have you reached out to people and let them know, hey, dog team going to be on the trail? I would love your. So I think sometimes people just don't know what to do when they pass the team.
And they want to take your picture. I'm seeing a couple questions. Let's do 2 more questions, and then I know call it a night. And Annie's here as well.
We don't know if Sarah's going to race.
Someone said, "Is Sarah going to race this season?" She already has. She's been in multiple dryland races, and she might be on sled.
She has like
trophies. Yeah.
Sarah kind of.
Yeah, she did awesome. But we'll see. She might. And someone said, "How do you find veterinary care when you live in a rural area?" That is challenging. That is challenging. We have a lot of vets who we have great. Our vet, who we love very much, Dennis Griffin, recently passed away in the past two months. And he was just an incredible man, and he knew sled dogs so well. And every time we brought the dogs, he would say, "It's a privilege to listen to the heart of a sled dog."
Yeah, he would thank us.
And he knew them all, and he knew them generationally. He was just an incredible vet. And so he was about an hour and a half from us. So we have other vets who we know also as well. We don't have a regular vet quite yet, again, who's close, but we have many vets who, we can call because we know them from races and we're friends with them and they're in the community, and local emergency services if we need that. And
our dogs on
know
average with races and with also just the care that they need, even to be checked to be if they're in shape enough physically to do the race, like they have blood work done, all these things. So our vets, I would say a conservative estimate would be that each dog who's sort of in the racing mix, and then the retirement ones might see the vets a few times a year, but the other ones probably see the vets, I would say, about 45 times a year. They get an exam.
They get full checkups.
At least.
So we usually, if something's going on, we usually get an inkling pretty quick. And if there's an emergency, then we have a couple places we can go. But it is a drive.
We learn a lot.
We learn a lot. And one thing that we have to be prepared for, especially, training, when we've trained really out in the bush, is we do have to be prepared to do a certain amount of medical stuff for ourselves. And we need to have a pretty stocked veterinary supply kit so that we can take responsibility if anything goes wrong while we're out there, at least solving the problem until we can get back to town. So that's something we study. We have veterinary books. It's not, we want to be a veterinarian, but if we're in the wilderness, we want to make sure that we, are someone the dogs can trust to take care of them until we get them to a vet.
Most often it's a phone call and we'll say, "Hey, Dennis, here's what's going on. This dog didn't eat. His stool looks like this. It's a little TMI. This is what the signs I'm seeing." He's and he might say, try this, and then he might later say, start him on antibiotics. And we usually have a supply of that stuff.
We have some backup for when we're home. And then we'll talk to the vet about what to do and then bring them in for blood tests or if there's something.
Yeah, he'll be like, send pictures and, but we can do the basics. If we needed to do wound care or sutures or flushing out a wound or anything like that out in the field.
We've done them on me.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, but it's tricky. I always think that one of the most important things, we're really lucky. We also have like a reliable truck and a reliable snowmobile. And so we can get out of places quickly. Not everyone has that. And I always think one of the most important things for sled dogs and for pet dogs in rural areas and rural people is affordable rural vet care. Is something that.
That's a drawback of Alaska.
That is, it's so important. And it's something that, helps everybody. It helps sled dogs. It helps pet dogs. It helps people. We care so much about the places offering services, and these, in rural areas.
These vets volunteer to go to these races, and they also it's competitive, and it can't just be anybody. It's very not competitive. That's not the word. Very selective. And then there are mushers who are vets, right?
There's a lot of overlap between mushers and vets. So.
Alice White's a vet tech.
Yeah.
Outlaw
Well, people like dogs, so they.
Jen Frecking, Blake and Jen Frecking.
Yeah.
Jen's a vet, so yeah, it's pretty neat.
It's pretty neat. Should we do one more question and call it a night? We might not have. Here comes Annie. Maybe we should.
Well, I was gonna say, did we do this very last one from Amy? Do you have a standout memory from a race? Maybe that's a good one to close out on.
That's how do I pick one?
I remember when I went to the Klondike Dog Derby next year, and the Majors and Quinn had this beautiful tent with like this display of our books, and Annie was there.
And really signing me up for some outdoor winter
dogs.
Just a puppy pile.
Right. If I can have some dogs in a tent with me,
yeah,
maybe.
We'll bring straw. We'll bring dogs.
How do you feel about Harry and Refried hanging out with you, our old guys? They like belly rubs. They want their butts scratched a lot.
Great.
You got weird puppies too. We got a couple weird puppies.
Well, they won't be puppies then, but
weird.
We have some weird dogs.
Weird teens.
Yeah.
Standout memory from a race.
Oh gosh,
so many. Well, think of a dog. We'd have to start with thinking of a dog. Let's think of a dog. How about
well.
Go. It's you. You got this. I talked too much.
Grinch is, well, I don't know if I can find his page this quickly, but he's.
Here, why don't I find Grinch while you talk about
I might know where it is though. Well, you do too. There it is. This is Grinch. So smart. I mean, so strong.
He's got a heart of gold.
Not so smart.
If we all had the heart of Grinch.
Oh my gosh, the world would be better. When Grinch first came to us, this is just one of 1,000 memories from races. But when Grinch first came to us, we took over the dog team of a musher who was getting out of the sport, and Grinch was, a big, strong, young, enthusiastic dog. He's still everything except for he's not quite as young anymore. And
he's a lot. And
the musher was telling me, he was like, this dog, I've never run him in lead, but he's very fast and he's very strong, which is true. He is huge, fast, and strong. He said, so if you're ever like in a race and you want to like get a burst of speed at the end, what you need to do is take Grinch from the back of the team and put him in front. And then you're going to fly across the finish line. So I always, all of that year, I'm like in my back pocket, waiting for when I can deploy Grinch to lead us at 20 miles an hour across the finish line. And so I wait until I am in this really close race. I mean, these things are very casual. It's like me and my friend, but like we're at the Apostle Islands race, which is now closed down. It's one of our favorites, but it had a great run. And, I was with this other musher who's a friend of mine, and we're sort of neck and neck, and I pull ahead and I'm like, man, if I want to keep this lead, what I'm going to do now is the moment. And I put in my snow hook that like hooks the sled still. It's like an anchor in the snow so I can run up and the dogs can't run away. And I can see, my friend, I'm looking over my shoulder and they're like gaining on me. And I'm like, I just like get Grinch and he's just jumping and ready to go. And I bring him to the front of the team and I'm like, wait, you're never going to catch us now. And she's like coming and I run back to the sled and I'm like, ready, let's go. And we do not move. All of the other dogs crash into the butt of Grinch, who does not know how to move forward. And he was so confused. He wanted to run so bad. He was so confused, but I run anyway. After I ate some humble pie because I've been like, I have this dog I'm going to deploy to go so fast. And he did not know how to move. And this was a precursor to another story about Grinch some of you may know, which is another time he was supposed to move in front and he didn't. But it has happened twice. And that time it was in a race and I just watched the team. We'd been neck and neck with Fly and I had to move all my dogs around. And as soon as I put him in the back of the team, he ran again. But I can't believe I'd been told save him for a moment when you need someone super reliable, because that dog does not have two brain cells to rub together. But he is all heart. And I don't know, that was years ago. That was years ago when I first was in events, but it makes me laugh. So there's a memory.
Aw. not a clutch player, but an
No, but he
like
pulls really strong.
He's like a fullback or something, or he's like look. Some people have speaking anxiety and might not ever be public speakers, or might not ever like lead or teach a class or something. But they'd absolutely be people you want on your team at work. I mean, some of the best engineers in the world, but you get up and they can't make a 3-word sentence or something if they're in front of the room presenting. It's a little like that. Like, not everybody needs to have that role. It's okay. Colbert couldn't be a stronger dog on our team. I'd never trade half of anybody else's team for him. I mean, I want him, but he won't lead. But so Sarah tried doing a 1 or 2 dog thing with leap and lead. Oh my gosh.
Colbert, if you put him but I don't think Grinch has anxiety at all. I do not think there is anxiety in his body, in his toe. Like, you could not find an ounce of anxiety in that dog, but confusion, he just can't think very well. He just moves. Colbert, if you put him in front, he flirts with the ladies. He loops the whole team around so he can flirt with the ladies. So it's different every time.
How do you know who the extrovert engineer is? He looks at your shoes when he talks. That's pretty good.
Well, thank you both so much. Thank you, everyone who joined us tonight and asked such great questions. And it was really awesome to see you all talking to one another in the chat. A couple things that I dropped in the chat were, of course, way back at the beginning. I'll just do it again real quick. The link to the book at the Majors and Quinn website. If you are so inclined, you can head over there and get yourself a copy. There's still plenty of time to order it to be shipped anywhere in the US if you want to give it as a Christmas present, if that is something you do. And we also, if you happen to be in the Twin Cities area, have a super easy store pickup option as well. I also did put in the link to the Excelsior, the thing we were talking, that I'm apparently gonna sell books in the.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Annie, if you do it.
If you do it.
I will be. We can't. I don't think we can make it this year.
Klondike Dog Derby is what it's called, and it is on Lake Minnetonka. So a fun little weekend for anyone who wants to come visit the Twin Cities.
There's going to be like tens of thousands of people there. It's going to be. I'm serious. It's a big race. It's very huge. Populated race with spectators. Also, I know a lot of you have our book, but consider if you already have your 9 or 10 copies of our book, consider either getting Blair's first book, Welcome to the Goddamn Ice Cube, which you should totally read if you haven't, because it's a wonderful memoir. And dark and hilarious and wry and great, and I'm sure they can order it if they don't have copies, but also just get a different book from Majors and Quinn. I know you guys like books, and I know and we have a lot of love for our independent bookstores here, and this one has been good to us throughout, and celebrated.
You can just like spend hours there if you get a chance to go there. You're a big, like, you don't seem that big from the front, but it's
always fun when people come in. People often are in the front part of the store and are all like, where is your science section? It's weird that you don't have one. And we're like, there's a whole, come with me. We take them to the back room and they're like, oh, yes. Big store. We have a little bit of everything, used and new as well. So like, if new books aren't in your budget right now, no big deal. We've got really good used stuff. That's actually the majority of what is in our store is used or discount. So yeah.
And Annie, do you ship all your books around the country so people?
We do. Yeah.
Another book on your list, or you're looking for Christmas presents, they can get all of it from you and support.
Exactly. Like I was saying, there's definitely still time to get things by December 25th. If that is an important deadline for you. Yep, you've got some time. Order this weekend, and we'll help you out.
Thank you. Thanks.
Go for it.
That's well. I'm gonna after this look up what Arrow. It said Arrow owner. I'm gonna look that up. What an Arrow is.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thanks again. Also, anyone who wasn't able to watch live, this video does remain available on our YouTube channel. So you can send anyone that way if they missed it. Thanks so much and have a great rest of your evening.
Oh, and thank you all so much for coming out and hanging out with us.
And being so funny and engaging.
I know, we love you all very much.
Yeah.
Bye.